welcome to Moments in Time. And right now, I have something very big that I have in store for you. I'm sitting out here with this is Pilani Bubu, and she's out here sharing a moment of her time with us. I am so honored to finally see you face to face.
Thank
This
you.
is a big deal for me. I don't think you understand.
Yeah.
Unjani kodwa sis?
Oh, Bupila Kondo. I'm just, on the move, feeling like peaks and troughs, you know what I mean? When you're on the road and you're on a tour, you channel your energies quite a bit. So, I'm kind of still waking up because we had a gig last night in Durban. Yeah.
So you're just running around from place to place.
Yeah.
Can you go ahead? Because I know quite a lot about you. So we're not out here trying to test my knowledge about you. We're out here trying to let them know who you are. So can you just get into that and tell us about Pilani Bubu herself?
Sure. I was born and raised in the Eastern Cape and Limpondo Gazi. My dad's from Elusikisiki and my mom is Xhosa from Qula. And so I was raised in the Transkei, and that can tell you that I'm a child who was raised within the era of apartheid. And in my formative years, I grew up in that Transkei, sort of culturalized and conscientized within that space. And that's made me who I am. I am very much a child of my parents. And so a lot of what I do has a lot of intention and purpose, because when we came out of post-apartheid, we were told that we're the kids who would have been afforded all the opportunities we need, but also in a world that still needed to be changed. And so I move into the world with that intention. When I was about the age of 9 in Umtata, I kind of discovered my love for music, went to Umtata International School, was taught by a Mr. Mururi, started playing in musical ensembles then. So I fell in love when I was about 9 years old, and that's when I started kind of being with music throughout my life, played instruments, sang in choirs, all up until university and working. 10 years ago, I started my solo music career and started leading with my first love, which is music. I do, of course, have other loves.
Yes.
We all have many loves and have seen loves in our lives.
Yes.
But music is my first love, and for 10 years, I've been basically releasing music and projects. I have 4 projects under my belt, and so I'm a singer-songwriter, but most importantly, a storyteller with intention and a performer. I also present on television.
Yes.
My second love, which is interior design and design.
Okay.
And so I do that. And I also do brand design and brand development because, stories can be told in multiple platforms and formats. And so I like to think of myself a very sort of multidisciplinary artist who focuses on telling stories in different ways to kind of enhance and amplify that story.
Wow. You have played a very massive role within the arts as a whole, because you're not just sticking onto one thing, you're very versatile, and I think we've all discovered that by now. I am very well aware that you have 4 projects that you are currently dealing with. Can you just take us through that on each project, starting from 2012, right?
Yeah.
Starting from 2012, and just tell us the name of the project and how everything worked out for you.
Sure. So my music projects, these are my music projects. I think you're referring to my music
Yes,
projects.
yes,
In
music
2012,
projects.
I started off with an EP called Journey of a Heart. And that EP, was more like a love story. It was sort of coming out of love. Love is the thing that cracked my heart open enough to write again, to write music and to share of myself and to be open to share myself. So it's called Journey of a Heart, and it's kind of the beginning of my journey. So it has a lot of songs around a relationship I was dealing with at the time. It's kind of bittersweet because it's kind of coming out of that heartbreak into light. And then it has songs like Misunderstood, my very first radio single, which talks about me getting up and doing what I've been called to do in this life and to live my purpose and to sing, because the world is waiting for it. And then I came out of that and I found that life, and I released a project called Warrior of Light, and it came out of my inspiration traveling the world, sharing my project. I shared my project for the first time in my first solo show in New Orleans, and a lot of that music in that project is inspired by brass sections and brass music and feel-good music from that part of the world. And I also wrote some of the songs in France. I was in a residency there, sharing a bit of myself because I fuse, various genres like folk and soul. I kind of got called in to collaborate with other artists in France, and some of the songs on that project also come out of that. And so Warrior of Light expresses a journey where I'm now doing what I love, And that comes with a different inquiry. Do you know what I mean? So I write about music love, and I write about being open to love. I write about promised land. You know, like, how do you arrive at a place with your people? Your people could be so many things. Where are your fans? Where are your fellow creatives? Where are your other artists? Because you seek for them. Once you decide to choose a path, you'll find the people who are meant to be your people. I also talk about being free and traveling through the world, making my happy thoughts come true. I talk about heaven being right here on earth if you get up and do what you've been called to do. So that's the project Warrior of Light. And of course, there's many other songs to be explored there. And then I also created a project called Folklore Chapter 1. Having traveled the world and explored, like, you know, other cultures, I found more and more that people were interested in my origin and where my identity was formed. And so I dug deep into my past and how I've been culturalized and how I was raised. And I realized that the Mbondo people and the Xhosa people and South Africa, because I also have written songs on there in Tswana, because I grew up also very much in Gauteng. I went there when I was 12, 11 years old, you know, and started speaking Sotho and Tswana. And so it's kind of a South African story, my South African story from my perspective, talking about the fundamentals of our culture, women, men, rituals, our identity, heritage, leadership, learning from our folk music, reimagining and reinterpreting the click song, talking about Wati Diela, the crab, what can we learn from the crab, and bringing new meaning into our culture for the next generation, and also just realizing that so much of it hasn't been documented. So it was the beginning of a journey. I started it as a chapter 1. There's a chapter 2 to follow up. Thus far, I've written it chapter 2 to 5, so I'll be releasing that over the next 5 to 10 years. And hopefully that'll be a story, a cultural exchange that can inspire other young people like yourself to look into yourselves and the stuff that we want to document and share. And you don't have to, by identity, be called to only do that which is necessary. That's one part of the cause as artists. I also share stories of inspiration outside of stories of identity. I encourage people, you know what I mean? I empower people. I also share stories of influence, you know. Yes, like my Lockdown Lovestory, which is the project I'm currently releasing, is an ode to R&B. In the 90s, 2000s, we're also that generation that was influenced by, you know, neo-soul and R&B. And somehow we can also write from that place. So the story I wanted to tell was a love story that happened to me during lockdown. And it reminded me a lot of teen nostalgia. And even in that visual storytelling and in the music and the sonic experience, you get an understanding of where I was at that time. So that's a project that's being released. That's number 4. And of course, there's others that are following. I've just finished recording that box. Who knows when I'm going to release it. And chapter 2 is also underway. So yes.
Oh my gosh, this is so exciting. The fact that you just so, like, your lyrics are thought through, literally. There's a couple of lyrics that we wanted to discuss on the song Misunderstood.
Hey!
The song Misunderstood.
Yeah, tell me.
And there's a part there that says, do things in your own wrong way and you'll find the joy in living life in your own way. Say things in your own words and you'll find joy in saying things
You mean?
Yeah.
Do things in your own way, and you will find the word. Well, no. It's not, because you said in your wrong way. So now my brain is like, I want to fix that.
Sorry.
So I need to re-emphasize the word.
Okay.
Do things in your own way.
Oh.
And you will find the joy in what?
You'll find the joy
I haven't
in
sung that
life
song in so long.
in your own way.
Wow, geez, that's so mad. I haven't been performing that project in a while. Do things in your own way, and you will find the joy in living life in your way. Say things in your own words, and you will find the joy in saying things you mean.
Okay.
Right. Now the song is in the head. So I wrote that when I was working in corporate at South African breweries. This is very hot.
Sorry.
Let's get it to cool down. And at the time, I was still kind of working a band there, thinking about quitting my job. And to me, I felt very much standing in a boardroom was dishonest and inauthentic of who I really was. And so sometimes, though, the song, when I think about the lyric, can be quite selfish in a sense, because you're doing things your way, do things for you, live life for you. because if you start with you, then the rest follows, right? They say you cannot love other people if you do not love yourself. And so it's much more important for you to actually selfishly pursue your passion and to pursue your work in the world. And that what we're waiting for as people is you. We're waiting for you to serve us what you've got to serve, for you to serve your talent, for you to serve it's rightfully you for you. So if you don't spend the time selfishly working on it, you're not going to show up for it. So misunderstood was trying to kind of come out of a place where you're being understood for something else, which is generally you'll be misunderstood if you're not following a path of alignment, to MASS understood, understood. I'm actually understood. And I do feel like more like 10 years later, people are starting to understand me as a storyteller, as what I'm supposed to be. I'm becoming more and more understood as I become. And so misunderstood was like the first intention I set to pursue this career. I hadn't even left corporate at the time, And yeah, so I mean, there's so much more lyrics there. That's the hook, of course. You know what I mean?
Yeah. There's so much more. There's so much more. But I also want to understand your inspiration and your way of thinking that leads you to writing these lyrics in such a complex way, where you don't where it's like double lyrics. You understand it one way and the other. Like, how do you do it?
I don't know if I spend that much time overthinking it. I think I process a lot of information in my head. I think we all do. And when I download a song, it generally takes me about a minute and 30 seconds to write like the melody or the lyric or what I intend to say, because it's been sitting with me. And in terms of its duality, I think it's kind of like a poetic infliction. I've always been one who's enjoyed poetry and long form, like short stories or short writings, for how the writer leaves the audience to interpret for themselves. So I've given you enough. Like, I even find in my own journals, I write cryptically, in a sense that I'm giving it to you poetically, but you got to work out like what it is I'm referring to. And I don't know, I suppose it's more like a poetic way of doing things. And it could mean so many things. And I think it has more power when more people can resonate with it. Do you know what I mean? So I'm not fully... Sometimes you can be completely raw about your experience, or you could open it up. For instance, Lockdown Lovestory is raw about my experience. You know what I mean? From being like ghosted to the love story to like the pendulum swing, and it's like direct and personal. But some personal things are public, which means that anything you experience as a person, if you have the ability and the talent to articulate it and to share it with others, you give other people the words to articulate what's going on with them. Because I think that's part of our craft, is to articulate things for people so that they, they can feel like they're understood and they understand what's happening with them. Do you know what I mean?
Yes.
Yeah.
I most definitely understand that. Another thing that I was really interested in knowing is the about your company.
Hey.
I just really want to know about company yako. The infusion of the name is a bit riddling for me. It's Bupila. It's Bupila or
You're correct.
Pilani. Bupila. It's Bupila. So
I love that. That's so cute. Bupilani.
So it's the infusion of your last name and your name.
Yeah.
Bupila.
Yes, and it has dual meaning. So my name means life, to live, to be well. And Bupila in Tswana is a beauty. And I believe in reflecting both these things, right? Life is about reflecting beauty and reflecting God. And so when we are living our lives, the ugly and the bad is still beautiful, right? And so my mission was to kind of like reflect that. So I have a company called Bupila Lifestyle, which deals mostly with my consulting and my lifestyle work and bringing up other platforms in the arts and interior design and design. And then I have Bupila Publishing, which deals as like my label and my publishing company for my music. And it deals mostly with me as a musical personality, a TV personality, so anything of mine that is personality. So everything else deals with like other ways that I collaborate with clients and tell their stories and support other initiatives that I'm passionate about. And then Bupila Publishing is more personal. And then, of course, there's other companies that I run with other people in collaboration.
Wow.
But yes, Bupila is definitely mine at the core. There's just me. I'm 100% the only business owner. And yeah, so in doing that, I think it was kind of saying, living out my life and reflecting that the beauty of life, and so that it may also inspire and encourage and, be engaging to others.
For me, it's very inspiring to be like sharing a seat right now and having a talk with someone who is so broad. Like your way of thinking is so unique, and the fact that you're so like you're a woman and you're making things happen. It's not just within the national parameters. You just all the way out, and it's very inspiring. I just want you to inspire other people the way I feel, and just go ahead and tell them how you got here and how they can possibly get there if they need
Yeah.
to.
Man, fortune favors the brave. I don't know if my fortune, it may not specifically be financial. Because abundance is like so many things, and I think the first thing that people need to do is to have the courage and the brevity to explore at the uncertain turf. How I got out into the world and shared of myself was just I braved it, and the moment I made a call to do something, that thing just paved its own way because I was already doing what I was meant to do. So navigating like what you're supposed to do with your life and your purpose and why you want to do it. And mostly actually just starting with the why. If you want to impact lives, then cool. Then look at the number of ways that you can and the talents that you have to do that. And in which ways do you want to impact lives? Is it through climate change? Is it through healing people through like therapy? Music is therapy. Music can be so many things, and once you've done that, I think taking a leap of faith, something's going to catch you. I always say, as long as I can vibrate and share energy in South Africa, I can land in Paris and share the exact same energy, and doors can open up for me equally as they open up for me here, if that makes sense. And so people not being scared to kind of explore of themselves. And this is why I always talk about the world waiting on people, I have another song called Wondrous Love. It talks about like going out there, like be the new, feel the flight of the feeling of conquering fear. You know what I mean? When you're a new thing in a novel space, you even have more opportunity for change because people have their ears open and they're open to you. So absolutely be brave, and also because fortune favors the brave. And also the idea of abundance comes from not thinking that there's the idea of abundance comes from not thinking that there's limited spaces, that there's an opportunity for everyone. For long as you can breathe, there's enough air for us to breathe. We all have a space to do something. And some people come into different spaces or careers with scarcity thinking. There's not enough, it's a competition. And so if this person already exists, there isn't space for me in that way. And so removing the idea that there isn't enough and knowing that there's a space for you will create even more space. You'll see more, you'll see who's here to help you, you'll find your mentors, you'll find your angels, you'll find your door openers and all of that. You'll see what you have not been able to see. So for me, it also began with understanding the principles of abundance and understanding the principles of how to engage the world. The second thing is work ethic. Hard work. If you think it's hard now, or if you think it's easy, it's not. But you have to welcome hard work, because what you're looking for is results. What you're looking for is a particular feeling of achievement. What you're looking for is productivity. So fall in love with being productive. Fall in love with putting in the work. Do you know what I mean? Don't feel sorry for yourselves that you must do it this way. For the longest time, I also went through the artist talk of, oh, I need a manager. Oh, I need someone who's going to help me. Oh, I need a David Foster who's going to find me. Yes. Some shit-hot record label is going to find me. Some shit-hot producer is going to, pull me out of the streets and make something of me. No, you make something of yourself. And it's always going to begin with you. And when you then do that work, along the way, everyone who's there to help will show up. And some of us, it really, it's not a short journey. My mentor, when I started, said to me, it takes 10 years to become an overnight success. And that's the same energy that's driven me to be committed, to persevere. And, commitment is the biggest part of it, you know what I mean? And the rest will fall into place, and not looking so much at what success looks like, but looking so much at what success feels like. And success feels like I did it. Success feels like, you know what I mean? I'm a step further. Success feels like a load is lighter. Success feels like I'm doing more and more. When I started, when you release an album, you do the PR, then you do more gigs, because people are like, oh, she's got a repertoire, so she can sing. She can sing for longer than 45 minutes. Cool. She can sing for 3 hours. Do you know what I mean? The more you do, the more you do. So find the feeling of productivity, find the feeling of your work ethic, find the feeling of commitment, find that feeling of brevity, find the courage, find success is a feeling. It's not what it looks like. Eventually you'll look around, and of course there'll be tangible evidence. Those are byproducts of success. So people mustn't look at the glory, the glitz, the flam, an entertainment industry that was built in America. We have to build from scratch. South Africa is an infant entertainment industry. You got to put in the work. So we're all pioneering at this point. We are all trying to change something. We're all trying to make it work. And so it's not going to be easy. That's all I have to say.
Yeah.
So find the feeling of the of conquering fear. Conquer your fear.
Conquer your fear. You heard it, guys. Another thing, well, for me, when I write music, I feel a certain way about the music that I am writing at that current moment. And whenever I hear it, that feeling comes up all over again. There's
Yeah.
a project that you just touched on, your very first project, A Journey of a Heart. All the songs there are so heartfelt. And you kind of did like just touch on the fact that it was about the certain relationship that you were in at that very moment. Can you share with us like the exact moment? Like just pick a song from there and tell us about it. See, at that moment, what was going on? Tell us the
Sure.
story.
Actually, when I still worked in corporate, I was dating this person, and we started this band at South African breweries. And we'd go to someone's house and sing and write. And at that time, my boyfriend had just come back from Hong Kong. And he'd said that he's going to see me that week, but then he got busy or something. And I wrote this song, which is a country ballad called What's Between Us. Literally just kind of as an inquiry. Days gone by, I haven't seen you. I'm looking, to see your smile, even just a grin. He lived down the road from me, And it's kind of that feeling of like wanting to barge through someone's door and be like, yo, like, is there something wrong? And like when I get there, will they be so upset or will they ask me to stay and that kind of thing? That very same night when I wrote that song, I went to an Analog Nights, was like a live music thing that used to happen in Joburg. And I bumped into him there and then discovered that like he's with his baby mama. So like after all of that, like this guy is now not even, that guy really broke my heart, with someone else, But it was really super heartfelt. And like for the longest time when I sang that song, it would make my face like,
Feel numb.
like it would just vibrate while I sing, It's weird, like it's an emotion, like you said, like you
you feel it
revisit that
all over
emotion
again,
all over again
yes.
and that intention. So yeah, what's between us? Days gone by, I haven't seen him. I'm longing for his smile, even just a grin. I'm your uptown girl, come and see your queen. It's only avenues and streets between us.
Wow.
Yeah, man. Then I'm like, I'm coming over. Did I come over? I'm not sure. I'm coming over. I'm coming there to stay. Yeah. Yeah.
Wow.
One, because there's too many songs where we can talk about these intentions. Huh?
Let's talk about these intentions.
Yeah.
Let's
No, you
hear.
said I should choose one, but essentially every song is a mark in time of a feeling felt, and every time we perform the music, absolutely that feeling needs to come forward.
Awesome. I am really honored to be with you right now here, and I think I've been repeating this. People are getting tired of hearing it over and over again. Off camera, we had a discussion about genres, and you said, no, let's not talk about this right now. I will educate you on camera. I think the time
I don't
is
know
now.
about educating.
I think the time
Maybe
is now.
engage you. Yeah.
Yes.
Well, ask me the question.
I was asking about which genre do you sing exactly?
And
Because
so I posed the question to you. What do you think?
I told you I'm not so well taught when it comes to genres in exact. So I thought it would be some soulful, soul. I'm not sure.
All music is soulful.
So I'm not too sure which one it is. So that's why I asked.
And how does that make you feel when you don't know?
It makes me feel less of a person, I guess, because I should know since I'm also a musician.
Yeah.
So
Do you find that people who aren't musicians also feel anxious about not knowing when music is unfamiliar to them?
I think they do. Because a lot of people, like, whether you're a musician or not, you do listen to music and it does something to your heart.
Well, I think it's a big issue, particularly in this country where people want music that's familiar to them and they rely on mass media to tell them what is good. And even if it's not that great, and not that I would review any music, I think all music has a role. It has to be felt. And if it moves people, then it's good. Do you know what I mean? And who's to say what grade is? So I'll take that back. But essentially, what happens is that when we all look for genres that people define are the genres to be looked for. So Afro pop should sound like this, and Amapiano is this, and that Kom is this. And then we follow these trends that are developed by us by mass market. Then what we do is we don't grow the industry, and neither do we grow our any sense of uniqueness or newness or novelty. So I've never really written with genre in mind. I didn't come out of the out into this industry saying I am going to be a soul artist. I didn't come out, pre-writing my story so that I could hit a particular target audience. So I haven't shaped myself for marketing. I have shaped myself for change and impact, so and intentionality. So I like to call myself a storyteller. And whatever that story that comes out of me, as naturally as it comes out, I've never overthought any song that I've written. I've allowed it to be what it is. And which I think to me is true of who I am, because I cannot unwrite that I'm of the MTV generation. I can't unwrite that I listened to Tracy Chapman when I was young. I can't unwrite that I'm influenced by jazz in my later life. I can't unwrite how much brass music moves me from New Orleans. I can't unwrite my traditional influences. I also cannot unwrite where I went to school. I cannot unwrite my privilege. I cannot unwrite, my command of the English language. But I also can rewrite my command of the Xhosa language. So all of these things and these nuances that bring together the music that I write and how they form into genres or no genres, are influences of that. So at a foundational level, I love for people to understand and to take people as they are and be willing to learn what comes with that and why the music sounds that way. I can't unwrite that I sang in contemporary classical choirs for 20 years. Do you know what I mean? And that has influenced my music. I've sang requiems and Bach and Finnish composers to music of Scandinavia, and do you know what I mean? And so these are things that have influenced who I am as well. You know what I mean? And so the genre question for me is that I'm definitely genre fluid. I have a very genre fluid perspective. I do embrace my versatility. And so when I'm writing a project or a story, I allow it to download for what it is, because whatever's computing in my head, whatever has already happened in my life, what is simply coming onto paper has already been intoned, you know what I mean? And all I'm doing is releasing what's there. So sometimes when I think, okay, magic sounds like this in the sphere of music, or like something childhood or nostalgic sounds like the xylophone, or I hear it in my head. So when I'm telling a story, so in essence, I do think that I'm more genre fluid, and I embrace my versatility and like what I've learned over the years, the different styles of music and what and how they can tell or help me tell a story. And the reason when you asked me that question, I asked how it makes you feel, is because I'm also trying to understand, or have understood, that it is almost better when music is familiar. And, various parts of the world, maybe more, who've worked harder at various industries like theatre or the opera, they taught people the music. They used to bring them into their homes and share like what they should be listening for, what they should understand, what they should know. And I just, I do wish more and more people would just see themselves as long as you have the ears to listen to the music, which I think naturally most people do. I think it'd be a rare condition where someone listens to music and it doesn't move them in some way, whether it's emotional, spiritual, or other. So to trust themselves, to trust what they feel from it and what they understand from it, and to be far more open to less, I would say, pop genres, and that's only just a state of popularity, right? To be more open to artists of different nuances or different, whatever they call it. What would you call it? I mean, I like to call it niche.
You have a very massive energy. You have a very beautiful, flowery aura.
Flowery aura.
And honestly, it's very hard for I specifically, for one, to get to that point where I can just give off the good energy that I feel at a certain time. And most of the time, I'm kind of intimidated by big energies. So it takes a lot for a person to identify that for themselves. And I hear you're a twin. How did you get to that point? and to separate yourself from the person where nihleli nilinkiwe and nihleli nobabini. How do you get to the point where you just embrace who you are and differentiate yourself from that person?
Wow, big question. Thank you so much for that question. My twin sister and I are very much alike, as much as we are different, and we've spent our whole lives trying to find and navigate ourselves or our individualism, because as a twin, naturally, as you say, you get compared, or as a twin, naturally, people will look for differences, because that's how it helps them navigate us. And sometimes those differences can be as boring as good and bad, right? Meaning we always look for the black and white. We never really look at the complementary. My sister and I are very complementary, but also very much alike. And so the challenge is, as a twin, is to try and navigate out of the negative talk, because there has to be a good and an evil one, right? Because the world navigates the world like that. And so we need to just kind of like look at ourselves as a spectrum. One day I'm sitting on the left side of the spectrum, and the other day I'm on this side of the spectrum. You know, like when I say spectrum, if you think of colors, they have spectrums. So they shade out into each other. And so for me, navigating out of that was just, we honed in on something we equally both have. We're equally talented. My sister sings. Do you know what I mean? There's nothing that we haven't done without each other. Since we have discovered we love singing, we used to sing to each other every night in our bedroom, the school hymn book, back to back. We'd read poetry and stories to each other. This is like way, like when I'm talking like 9 years old, 10 years old, 11 years old. Boarding school, we'd still be singing the same places together. High school, we were in the same choirs, the same orchestra, we did everything together. So the only differences with us is where we try to differentiate was to create sometimes a separate group of friends. We had the same group of friends, but we tried also to have like some other individual things where we resonate differently or bond differently with different kinds of people. And people saw that, you know, we carried. My sister wants to be a comforter and a therapist, and she'll have time to soothe people's souls. And I'm generally, I find it, I operate from a different place when it comes to that. I want to channel my energy where I can give you the same energy of therapy, etc. But I've thought about it and processed it, and I'm in my head so that I can produce it out and channel it as art. You know what I mean? So it may not always come out as I'm going to spend individual time, but I want my time to be, not that she's not well using it, you know, well, actually, easily until you get up and sing. Then you can channel this, you know. Those are the little side things. I also have time for my people. My sister and I are like so much the same. Jesus. Yeah. Soon enough, you'll see us singing together. And then, I'm sure that could be like, the power of two. That
somewhere in chapter 3.
Well, in chapter 2, I do want to invite my family to come in, and definitely chapter 3 if it all works out very well. But yeah, we want to work on a project, a specific project for the both of us.
That's great. Yeah. That is so beautiful. Thank you so much for being here with us. And I feel like we've gotten within your head, basically, and found out, Tabuti, where does everything just originate with you? Thank you so much for being here. Can you just drop your Instagram handles? Yeah. And your socials. Just let us know on your socials.
Sure. Well, you can find me, Pilani Bubu, Pilani Bubu. I have to spell it and fix my SEOs because I expect that Bantu folk think that there's an H in my name. And quite often they put an H in my name and that isn't there because my grandfather didn't think it necessary phonetically.
Yeah.
So Pilani Bubu, that's on Instagram, on Twitter, on Facebook, and also my website is www.pilanibubu.com. And I think that's more than enough that you can explore. It'll be the same on Spotify, on iTunes, and on YouTube. So subscribe if you must to Spotify and YouTube. That'd be great. I'll be dropping a series of videos. I have a couple out. We didn't talk about Lockdown Lovestory, by the way.
Oh, let's talk about it. It's not too late. It's not too late.
Well, let me drop it down for you. Lockdown Lovestories, I've been on a release since the 1st of January. I started off in Ghana, went to Kenya on a tour. We're now on a national South African tour. And we're just trying to break down walls, open doors, and bring in a spirit of high optimism post-pandemic. I call it the post-pandemic mood. It's a spectrum of colors and moods. Spectrum.
Are you still within the tour?
Yeah,
Or
so
is it
that's
called
why we are here in
Yeah.
Margate.
Okay.
You know what I mean? We
I
came here to
cannot-
perform. Yeah.
I cannot wait to see the event. I'm
Yeah.
not too sure if I will be joining or not, but like I'll see.
Okay,
I'll
cool.
see.
No
I'll
problem.
see.
And so, yeah, we've released a radio single called As We Lay, and a second single is also out on all digital platforms. It's called Pendulum Swing, and we'll be releasing the full EP on the 25th of March 2022, just in case this airs post. And so it may be out, it's coming out. And it's a love story I've gone through. Lockdown started in March 2020 to August 2020, short-lived. So it's the beginning, middle, and end of that journey and the nuances of lockdown. Some of us lonely and celibate, exploring virtual relationships. I don't know. Find time to reflect on your lockdown love story, whether it was self-love or love for someone else or love for your parents or more love for your people. And yeah, let's share that journey together and close the pandemic chapter in some way or the other.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
I'm done. I still have questions.
Oh, okay.
Ask.
I'm like the biggest fan, so excuse me.
Much respect.
Excuse me. Like, okay. So, okay, I'm gonna take you back a bit. Né? I had notes. I had notes, but we're a bit like short-handed today. Like the team, we had to split, and there was another gig, so I had to stay
You don't
off
look
cam.
short-handed to me.
No, I'm
You
short-handed
guys have
today.
come out full
Short-handed.
force.
Yeah, but okay. So you spoke of your love for poetry. One of my favorite songs is "Hope Springs High."
Ah.
And that's that Still I Rise. Né? Like, how did that come about? I didn't even know. I knew the poem, but I didn't know that was it. Like, and I was so caught up in like how you took that, because even with your tone, it could be annoying. Don't get me wrong. It could be annoying, but it's not.
What, the
Like-
song or the poetry?
No, I'm just talking about you in general. So before I even relate it to the song, your tone has this thing where it could go wrong, but it's so right. Like where you could be screaming on the song. Like you generally sing high, like soprano, like first soprano if I'm not mistaken, but it comes across like so mellow,
And soothing.
so sweet, like so soothing. And with that song, with even how you did the harmonies and the whole balance, how did that come about? Like that's one of my personal favorites.
Sure. Man, like you're putting me to work because I was supposed to release that again, the orchestra piece, the mini orchestra piece in 20 March. And now, when you work with people, strategy now has to come forward because after 10 years, I mean, if you've learned nothing, you can't be like releasing without a strategy. But nonetheless, so you are aware of the vocal version with just keyboard. When I was 13 years old, we were asked to put poetry or poems that moved us into song or articulate them in a different way. Maybe you could have acted it, or I don't know what other people did in the class. Someone actually reminded me on Facebook the other day, and I was like, oh, damn. It was actually like a class exercise. And it never left me how the poem moved me, in a sense. And the melody line that I'd created at that time, which was that... You may write me down in history with your bitter, twisted lies. You may trod me in the very dirt, but still like dust I'll rise. Does my sassiness upset you? Why are you beset with gloom? 'Cause I walk like I've got oil wells pumping in my living room. The thing is that that poem has always had so much meaning, and people lean into that hope springing high, still I rise. And I don't know if people know that the title of the track, where it came from. So Maya Angelou's estate said that I can't call the song Still I Rise or We Rise because it'll get confusing, so I should have like an isolated word. And I was like, they gave me so many, and I was like, no, but it still has to have meaning. And in that chorus, which is one of the stanzas that I turned into a chorus, was just like moons and like suns, with the certainty of tides, just like hope springing high, still I rise. And for me, the hope in the song was what I wanted to restore during the pandemic. It was a time where there was Black Lives Matter, lots of femicide, and it reminded me that for so long, even way before Maya passed, I'd wanted to really do my version of this poem as a song. And so I felt that we forget to talk about the hope in still we rise, still we rise. It feels so much like such a battle and aggression. Still we rise, we rise, we rise, because it's constantly like a political battle or like a, you know, what do they call it, a gender equality battle or racial battle. But actually there's hope in the song, and we needed it so much during the pandemic. And so that inspired me sort of taking what I did when I was that young and putting it into music and just taking it further. Yeah.
So with that, now let's go back to Warrior. There's a home there, Warrior Light. There's a song, Home to Me. There's a part that stuck out to me. Like I was like, I had a heart under 6 feet of snow. I had a smile just for show. I had wings but not flying. I had a pretty good life but felt like dying. You could have asked me and I would have said, how does anyone get out of bed? Yeah.
Hey,
that
guys.
cut. And to
This
link it
is
to that.
so good because we really underestimate what people are listening to.
Yeah.
We think everyone's listening to what we think is the radio single and the fun song.
Yeah.
So, okay, you want to know that feeling?
Yes.
I'll tell you a story about that song. Why do I feel like singing for you guys today? You know,
No,
it's like
do
I
it.
love
you guys
that.
are
I
like
love that you
reciting
just
it like
found
poetry,
Yeah.
and reciting it like poetry definitely brings us the music back in. I had a heart under 6 feet of snow. But just for show. Let me tell you what happened with that song, actually. So, this is the one song in my life that I didn't write. So, I know you're looking for that story, but what I wanted to emphasize in that collaboration, so I was in Dublin, in Ireland, and I was working with Scott Mayer, and I felt like my entire project, Warrior of Light, had a sentiment of home. And quite often I end that set with free. This is now my home. This is why I roam. This is where I'm free. And so I wanted to settle the intention of home. I don't know if you know in music something called a resolve. Like things when they resolve, it means they're settled. You know, you found, vala. Because some things like are left in suspense. And that project resolves. And so putting Music Love, the demo in there, and the home demo was to reinforce the idea and the sentiment of home in every single song in that project. And I just wondered if people would pick up on it. But the point of the story in the song to me is feeling that sense of home. You feel like home to me. Why? Because you find love and you find a place that you can be yourself. So coming out of Misunderstood with the Ended Journey of a Heart, Warrior of Light really gives a sense that I found myself and I found my home and I found my light. So you feel like home to me is the key line.
Okay. Now, Folklore. That's the album I got introduced to you with. Then I went back and revisited like all the old stuff and listened. And I'm like, they know when I love something, the whole team has to hear it nonstop. Like, guys, we gotta listen to this.
You do not
We gotta listen to
understand.
this.
I love
So
it.
with that song, I've got inside info, so I'm not like there's the first track, yeah, which is Ikuitro. Well, you're like, okay, this kind of like and you turn that into a song. But like how you do it, because I've heard like I actually don't like rearrangements of songs, maybe because they always kind of similar. But you find this way of twisting the melodies and bringing out these unexpected, which is even like Baile. I love that.
That's my favorite one.
Yeah, that's my favorite there. But even from the first song, then you mix in no Majola, Phayana, where Mama Sibongile, hey, Mama Sibongile, I get right. But
Yeah, I get correct.
I get right. So what was the thought process behind that? Like, hey, I want you to also mention your collaborators because that went and won a summer. Yeah, well, that's something we just went past or to you actually a summer winning award artist sitting here with us having this discussion.
I know,
Yeah.
right?
Right, sure. Mama Sibongile, I'll call it Mama Sibongile, and then Makoti is the song inspired out of that. It really touched my heart when I heard it for the first time. My brother's bangin is Klubi, and as you know, Silapa get close to Epizana, which is where they, explored that sort of rite of passage. And I found the harmonies and the call and response quite interesting. In the project Folklore Chapter 1, I want to kind of enhance and celebrate the writing styles of our culture. The call and response, the harmonies, the rhythms. And yeah, I can't say what conscious thought pattern is happening in my head when I'm reinterpreting a song. I mean, including Ukongotwane. It's just a spiritual or another moment of influence, like of where I come from, that has been decoded and coded in me way before, like, I arrived in this moment. Meaning, all my years of contemporary singing and classical choirs and things like that allows me to explore so many things. So probably so much exists as choices in music in my life. And I think that anytime you also take a song that's generally sung by men and you sing it as a woman, it'll have a different nuance. So, like, also Qula, I wanted to bring a feminine perspective to it, you know. So oMama Sibongile, Majola / Makoti comes from the same place. Baile, that's a song that I actually wrote. It's not taken from any folk song specifically. It has spoken fictions in terms of its 6/8 time signature, and the way that I've used the words to write percussively, you know. And again, I wasn't overthinking it when I was doing it. I wrote that song also equally in the same time frame as I write any other song, 1 to 2 minutes, inspired by something. It's a download, myself as a vessel, you know. So the question around interpretation, I think it just comes from listening and being exposed to all kinds of music and being raised up in classical, contemporary, pop, opening myself up to so many things. Rock, Jesus. I mean, if I played with you my pop rock stuff from when I was young, you'd be like, what is going on? You know, so, and allowing, and then somewhere in that amalgamation, you'll find new places in the music. And then when it comes to Ikwich, I think our stories are stuck in places, and sacred places for sure, that happen in our culture but aren't being shared enough. And so I've taken inspiration from those places to share our culture with the world. And so folklore is inspired very much by that.
Okay, before I let you go, there's one more. Like, speaking of rite of passage, there's this song where you have the poem. I forgot the title. I was actually checking for it right now, but I'm always bad with song titles because I listen to the album from track 1.
Yeah, you must listen to it in order.
Well, I listen in order, and so sometimes I don't catch like the names. But there's this one where you speak of where you actually recite a poem over like your backing vocals.
Kamata?
Yeah. And you're speaking of the rite of passage.
Oh, that's Qula.
Yeah.
Qula kwetinigava kausenazo
Did it-
kwetini.
Did it have anything to do with the Makoti, like how that came about, like
The beginning and the end.
Yes, like with you writing about the rite of passage after having been inspired by your brother's rite of passage for Mama Sibongile.
Absolutely. So, I mean, if you were staying for the show, you would go through all the stories and I'd tell you all these little pockets. And I love that people patch the story for themselves, and somehow there is a thread that people can pick up. In Folklore Chapter 1, there's the story of women and the woman's grievances, but there's also the story of men and how they're raised. And Qula really settles the answer as to why maybe we have other certain sort of just grievances by women, and also why I also write a song about celebrating women, like Bumche, and then a song around identity, like where should we learn from, and Kamata, which is about there's a value system as Africans that we've forsaken and pretend we should go back to that. So every single part of the project talks to each other. And Qula was written when, well, the poem is written from the feeling that I think we don't express what women and children are going through at that time. Mothers are nervous about their sons. Things go wrong. People die year on year. You know, going through, what do they call it again? This is now my brain being tired. I don't want to use the English word circumcision. I want to use
Ukweluso.
let's say by Sotweni. And we ourselves, as a black people, we defended to the media because now we're like, that's not the point, that 100,000 odd people die every year from this. What we're not addressing is also this a very personal anxiety that A, the individual goes through, who has to go through this process. B, their mothers and their children and their sisters and their brothers, when they're thinking about them going through this process. And a good part of it is victorious, and a good part of it is so many things. It's beautiful culture and so much that they learn and so much that they do over a period of time. But there's also a part of it that is quite scary. So in the poem, I wanted to express that anxiety and express the perspective of the feminine side of that story and how we see it. The person is gone for a while, they're susceptible to infections. Will they come back alive? Who do they come back becoming? There are these nuances of how we now need to behave around them and like how we should treat them, and the rapidness of moving from a boy to a man. And are also these teachings the enough of the teachings that men and boys need to have to become men? Are there less physical things, the more emotional things being done and taught about? So absolutely, I'm bringing into that perspective and the experience that I had at that time another side to the story.
Then you tie it all in with oMama Bethu, where you allow the gentleman to sort of like just give a shout out to all the mothers who are fighting, all the women,
Yeah.
whatnot. Like, how did that collaboration come about? Like, I like that. I like how it's a bit raw in such a beautiful layer where I don't know how to describe it. I'm not so good at describing things, but I just know when I feel it, when I listen, and I'm like, yeah, okay.
We needed something along the way in the journey after the Bumche story. Bumche being, the song about women, where I liken women, that God has a feminine side, and that she, their God, who's often masculine because we call him he cannot possibly just be he, that he is compassionate and he's kind and all these things, right? And trying to find the reasons why respect isn't being given to women and why women are being abused and raped and all of these wonderful things, including grannies and our mothers, right? And so, oMama Bethu, when I heard that poem, I just knew that it would settle the message much harder, because I felt like I was working very hard at it. And that just sealed the deal if it's translated to people, that our mothers will always show up for us. Our mothers will always be hustling. Our mothers will always come home to us. Our mothers will always do much for us that is needed, even when they have nothing at all. And so we needed to settle that message in a colloquial and a contemporary, I suppose it's kind of like an urban way. I just found that it was delivered in an urban way. And I don't know about the virality of that particular product or that poem, because I've searched every single poetic society in South Africa for that particular poet. And we all keep guessing and we all keep looking. And I'm just hoping one day it'll be a magical moment where I actually find the person who did that poem. So I cannot even attest to it. I didn't write it and give it to someone to say it. It was a clip moving around on WhatsApp. So it's, I would say, a very long sample, because no one ever samples someone else for that long.
Okay. Okay. No, I think let me let you go so you can prepare for the show.
Yeah.
Yeah, and speaking of Bumche, I don't think anyone has ever heard somebody sing a beatbox before. Like, we get boom, boom, ch, boom, boom,
Oh my
and it
God.
just boom,
Hi.
boom, boom, che, boom.
Wow, I seem to actually love that. I was like, oh my God, I actually do love doing this. No, because I have to hear the rhythm in my head. But I do it again on Awiyazi. Boom, 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 boom. Yeah. I don't know. It just felt like it was a good rhythm to keep the song. Because often when I write, I'm writing with the vocals and the melody mostly. And so I need to give myself rhythm. And so I know the rhythm already before it's arranged. Yeah.
Okay. Now we can officially sign out. I'm happy.
Oh wow! Thank you so much. That was a lot. A very informative interview we had right here about you and music at large. How well. I don't want to use the word educated, because I don't think you like that. You said how well educated you are about the field that you are within. Is just amazing for me. Thank you so much for being with us. Thank you so much. We are very honored to be with a prodigy like you, honestly. And we cannot wait to see what more you have in store for us. Can't wait for chapter 2, chapter 3, chapter 4, and so on and so on. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for having me. Yeah, I've had a great time and I really enjoyed your questions and well thought out. And I appreciate that folks can show up and let us know that on the other side of our social media and on the other side of the music, the MP3 or the CD or the digital platforms, that people are actually having real experiences that we've shared onto them. And so I think that this is well worth my time. And so thanks for the moment.
Thank you so much. Bye.
Cheers.
So what you living for?